Greetings on this nice fall afternoon. I'm here today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our post-exercise recovery. This last weekend I was doing some French reading training. I was doing an informal survey asking people what are some of their hot topics and questions and things they'd like to know about when it comes to working with our canine athletes. And a common topic that kind of cuts across the board, and I've heard this a number of times, is warming up and cooling down dogs, the importance of it, and what do I do to warm up and cool down my dogs. I have talked previously about my warm-ups. I've done a little bit of writing about that. So today I wanted to talk about this post-exercise recovery. If you remember, I had a video going around a little while ago. Knox, my Belgian Malinois, we had been working really hard in warm weather, 3 days intense training of French ring, and he was really slow to kind of recover the 24 to 48 hours after we came home, and we had some issues with trying to get him hydrated enough after we got back from training. So I want to talk about and share with you what I do for my post-exercise recovery. When they come off the field after intense training, I always walk my dog to cool him off. I watch his breathing, and with my dogs, I really watch the redness on the inside of the ears to determine, to what degree they're still breathing hard and their body temperature is still up. And I'll keep walking them as long as they look like they're still pretty heated. I will let my dog have access to water, but it's controlled access. I don't let him just have a whole bunch and just drink. But I'll let him have some water. I'll walk him around, bring him back, let him have a little bit of water. And I'll do this until I feel like he's almost back to not quite resting, the resting breathing and resting temperature, but I definitely want to see a distinct drop and make sure he's getting back to what's normal for him. Sometimes if he's really had a strenuous workout, maybe if he hasn't had a lot to eat that day, sometimes I have issues where I think his blood sugar drops a bit. I have supplements. There's a lot of supplements out there, and I'm not recommending one over another. You do your own research if you want to use supplements, but I have used NutriCal is one that I use. I also sometimes before and even post exercise recovery with dinner, I have Canine Super Fuel. That's what I use. And again, there's so many things out there. Just do your research. I've used other things that have upset my dog's stomach that people say is really, really good. So, whatever I use and what works for me, it might not necessarily be what works for other people. But if I feel like he needs it, I do give him a little kind of a nutritional boost to his dinner that night. I make sure I have a good amount of time between when he works out and dinner. I don't feed them really, I don't have it really close in time. It's normally a number of hours later that I actually will feed them. But something like a NutriCal or like it's like a gel supplement. Sometimes I'll give him that like in between training, right before, during, or even after training. So I walk him. I do not throw him right back in the crate. I do not put him in the car. Even if it's kind of cool outside, putting him in a small confined space, you really restrict the air movement and that moving air and helping to keep the body cool. That if you don't have that, it can slow down the cooling process. So I keep him moving. I watch him very carefully. If I let him, he might lay down a little bit, but I never let him lay down for an extended amount of time because sometimes they'll get really hot and they'll lay down and you think they're recovered or almost recovered. And then I've gotten dogs off their feet before and they start getting wobbly on their feet. And sometimes my dogs, their body temperature, sometimes it seems like it spikes immediately after they're done exercising, after the intense workout. I guess a perfect example is I'm a runner, and sometimes if I'm sprinting, I'm running really, really hard, or even when I box and I have a really, really intense, hard boxing session. A lot of times during that session, I feel great. And then as soon as I stop the exercise, like I can feel nauseous, I'll feel sick to my stomach. Sometimes I'll even get dizzy, if I haven't, eaten enough that day, if I'm getting dehydrated. So dogs can be the same way. Just because you stopped the intense exercise and you're walking them doesn't mean that from that point on, like everything's going to get better. Because, if they are on the verge of possibly having heat stroke, there is the possibility that their body temperature isn't coming down as fast as you think it is. So I never just go and put my dog under a tree and put him in a down and just leave him there for 5-10 minutes. I'll let him lay down if he wants for a little bit, but I will very briefly, he's not down and motionless for long, I will get him up just to double check his stability, his alertness, and make sure he's looking good on his feet and he's not getting weak or wobbly, because like I said, a number of times it was actually with all my dogs, any times where I've seen a negative reaction, they've struggled with the intensity of the workout, it's never been during the workout. It's been after, like briefly, like a minute or 2 or 3 or 5 minutes after. So really watch your dog carefully post-exercise. Watch to see how your dog's moving. Watch how stable they are on their legs. Watch how alert they are in their eyes. Watch the redness on the inside of the ears, the panting, the breathing, and you want to see that start to, the temperature coming down, the breathing to start to get back to normal. You want to see the color on the inside of the ears to start to return to normal. And it's only after my dog has come back to kind of, I know he's cooled off, I know he's rested, then I will put him back in the crate. If I'm driving home, if we're the last ones to go, I won't put him in the car and start driving home. If I have to stay on the field for another half hour, an hour, to make sure he's completely recovered from that exercise, that's what I'll do before I head home. So again, the recovery is not just right immediately after exercise. When you come home that night from training, make sure your dog has plenty of opportunities to rehydrate, and look at the meal that you give for that night. Depending on the intensity of the workout, do you want to do some kind of supplement or boost to the system to just support in that recovery process? Now, if your dog, let's say your dog hasn't had heat stroke, but your dog has really been stressed by the heat, has been struggling with the heat, just to let you know that if they're really impacted by the heat, sometimes you can see the effect of that 1 day, 2 days. Even dogs that are close to the verge of heat stroke, their bodies may still be recovering. Like, when Knox had the effects of the heat, it was probably almost a week later that he was really starting to act totally himself, because I saw the next few days he still seemed kind of fatigued and tired, and not his normal energy. So if you have a really intense workout, if you're working multiple days and your dog isn't used to doing that over and over, day after day, don't just watch your dog immediately after exercise. Watch him throughout the day, throughout the night, and see how your dog is recovering over the next few days. Because sometimes you do see things start to show up later, and it can be a result of the dog not properly recovering from exercise from maybe 24 hours before. Another thing that I do is if he's been working hard, I'll give him a massage. If he's been jumping, I'll focus a lot around the shoulders, the neck, when you think of the impact when he's landing. In bite work, I'll spend a lot of time massaging around the neck and the shoulders. And also a lot of the exercises that I do also put stress on, a lot of the things we do in general puts a lot of stress on their lower back. So this last weekend, whenever I trained, I like within 24 to 48 hours after a heavy workout, an intense workout, I do like to do a massage, not just for the sake of recovery and for supporting the muscles. I like to do the massage just to give a nice overall body check to see if I notice any potential signs of injury, soreness, pain, or stiffness. And there's been a number of times where I have caught things really early on from my massage, and noticed that there was something that was maybe a little sore. And what I did is like, okay, well, I'm not going to jump today, I'm not going to work today, I'm going to give my dog another day of rest. And then I massage, I check those spots later, and he's fine. And if I had not noticed those spots when I was massaging soon after we were training, I might have just gone out the next day and continued working him, and it could have led to injury. So those are the things that I do. I watch him like a hawk. I watch my dogs very carefully. I watch them cool down. I keep them moving at a walk, periodically sitting and downing, but they do not stay down for long, especially if they're still breathing hard and they're warm and hot. I give controlled access to water. When they come home for their dinner, I continue to hydrate them. I adjust their meals accordingly depending on the kind of intense workout that they've been doing. And then I also, if I think that they may have been struggling during that workout, I will watch them over the next few days just to make sure that I see signs that there's a complete and full recovery from the workout. So I hope this was helpful. These are the things that kind of my regular routine, things that I do. I might throw in some active stretching also, but I won't do it when the muscles are really, really hot. But I also don't want to do active stretching when he's completely cold. So I'll kind of throw that in there periodically on an as-needed basis. So I would love to hear what you do for your post-exercise recovery. And if you haven't thought about it, and if you don't really give your dog a nice recovery and really adjust and bring that body back down to normal, I encourage you. It's really, really important. It's not only important to do a warm-up to prevent injury, but the post-exercise recovery, it's just vital that we do this in a way that helps our dogs. They're athletes. We have to treat them as the athletes that they are. And so I would love to hear from you, to hear and see what kinds of things you're doing. And if you're not doing some of these things, I encourage you to start making this as a regular part of your canine conditioning program. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll talk to everybody soon.